This is Jeff with Erdman Oregon, and we have another little project we're going to go to work on. I'd mentioned in one of my previous videos about some doorstops that we're making for penitentiary, and to make those we're going to have to make some router brackets that fasten onto a tooling that I've already made that fastens onto the Oliver 25A lathe. And it'll enable us to use several different routers with different attachments on them to accomplish our goal on that project. So I'm going to bring you down, show you the bracket that I've already made and what we have to make for the other two routers that we need to use when we go and begin. And this is what I made. This is a bracket that I made that goes down on the tool post. Right back here on the Olivers, they have a round, I'm not, all I can call is, I guess, a post that comes up off the machine, the crossfeed. And then so this would mount on that. These bolts here bolt up against that. And so this can actually turn in a radius about 360 degrees if I wanted to. And then on this unit here we have some thumb turns that hold this plate into position onto the main bracket. So basically the router mounts up here. This bracket actually comes off, and it has an adjustment on the bottom here that raises and lowers this to the degree that you need it to set the router where you want to go. You can see that there's a couple of little holes here, here, and over here. Those holes are what hold the face of the router on. And this was made originally, I can't remember why I had that hole here. Oh, I know, there's a part that comes up off the lathe. There's a bolt that this has to go over. So that's why this hole is in this bottom bracket. At any rate, I need to make two more of these plates. Now originally, when I first made this, I did not have my bandsaw. I did not have my milling machine. I did all this stuff kind of, well, it was very difficult because I really didn't have the tools to do it. I had a plasma cutter, did some cutting with that, did some cutting with the hand jigsaw, and I bought a huge hole saw to cut that hole in that part. And of course all these other holes were done with hole saws rather than like a milling machine on a rotary table or something like that. So it was very difficult to put together, very time consuming. And what I'm planning on doing now is we're going to make ourselves a template for this, and we're going to cut those plates on the bandsaw. Then we're going to mill out the holes that we have here and make ourselves the jack and what have you that I have on it for the other two plates. So that's what we're going to do, and we'll be presenting that. Okay, we're just over by our bandsaw. We're going to begin cutting. I'm going to go ahead and swing the camera around and show you my setup. We're just going to do some rough cuts here, and then we'll get on to doing a finer cut on the milling machine. So I'll show you what we got going here. So we've got our metal end, we've got it raised here and here. We're going to be cutting about 8 7/8 off to this point here. And then we're going to cut, the other dimension will be just under 1/8 of an inch. So we'll probably cut it the other direction by 8 inches. and then we'll go ahead and put it into the mill and cut the rest of our shapes out of that. So let's go ahead and we'll start cutting here. Get my controls up to snuff. We're all set. Yeah, good. Get it right up to the middle, and then I'm going to slow it way down. I'll try to bring this up to you. There we go. So the next point is we'll take her over to the milling machine. We'll set up a rotary table and cut some of our other parts out. So I've got, this is my Ajax mill. You can see the head is slanted. It's about a 15-degree angle here. We had done some reaming out of some steel tube before. And that's why this steady rest is up here. And we're going to pull this down. This came off the Monarch. We're going to pull this down, straighten out the head, lower the bed, and set it up so that we can square up these pieces of metal and then cut our holes in them as we need. So to begin with, we'll just go ahead and we'll start straightening that head out. Let's see. We don't have any power feeds on this machine yet. The clutch is out on it, so everything has to be done by hand here. That's probably going to be on a future video when I fix that. We're planning to move this machine. We're remodeling the shop right now. Everything back behind the camera is going to be my machine shop. So this machine is moving about 10 feet that direction, and it's going to be over close to my surface grinder, and we're going to have curtains around that surface grinder when we're grinding with it, so it won't affect any of the other ways or tools that we have over there. But our lathe will be on the back wall over here, and all our milling machines will be this way. We'll have a curtain over here between the milling area and the wood shop. The wood shop's just behind this machine, and right now we get a lot of dust that comes in here between the wood shop and the milling area. So we're going to stop that. We're going to put in a curtain and prevent the sawdust from floating over here onto our equipment over here. If you were to look at this, you'd see a thin layer of dust all over this. He was using the old Yates American bandsaw to rip some veneer for some doors we're making. So you got a fine dust all over in here. So But anyway, we're going to take care of that issue by making this a separate milling area, curtaining off the area so that we don't have that sort of pollution. Okay. Saw Bob Block, or Brian Block. He was moving his new boring machine, and he was pulling that chain, and a lot more work than what I'm doing here, moving this thing down. A lot of handwork. I'm going to go get the rotary table, see. I don't know if you can see it, but my machine is cockeyed right now, and what's happening is as I lowered this table, that somebody leaned a piece of 2x4 steel tubing up under my deck. And as I was lowering my table, that was lifting my machine up sideways. So now I'm going to have to raise my table back up again to get that out. I came back and this thing was tilted clockwise, and I'm wondering what in the world is going on. Lordy, lordy. Okay. I may have to come back to you because I'm going to have to re-level this table, the whole thing. Doggone, that's a mess. It's still cockeyed, so something's there that shouldn't be. That's no good. That's no good. Well, I'll sign off and I'll fix this and get back to you. Okay. I've gotten past my little issue with my Ajax machine. We've got everything, the rotary table set up on here. We're going to do this a little bit different. We're going to cut the circle out of the two plates. They're fastened in there, as you can see. And then we're going to use the rotary table to make it square. I'll show you how we're going to do that. The first thing we're going to do is cut this hole. And that hole, we're going to find out what it is right now. Let's see. Hopefully you can see this. Just a little bit over 2 inches, 2.049. We'll call it 2. So what we're going to do, we've got our DRO zeroed out. So we're going to bring this over. Our bit in the machine right now is a 1-inch bit. So to get our 2 inches, we would typically move it over 1 inch, correct? But we have to subtract half of the width of that bit. Otherwise, we're going to cut our hole a little bit wide. So what we're going to do is move this over 0.50 inches. So we're going to go ahead and do that now. I'm hoping that my oops, went over a little bit heavy there. .50 inches. Now, if we look down at our rotary table here, hopefully we can get a good view of this. We've got it set on 0. So we're actually going to cut this square using the rotary table. After we cut our hole in the center, we're going to do two sides by turning this rotary table 45 degrees and cutting the two opposite sides, or 90 degrees and cutting the two opposite sides. Then we'll move our brackets the other direction and cut the opposing two sides using the table and moving it another 90 degrees. So we'll show how we do that as we go along. But that's my plan. I hope it's going to work, and we're going to give it a good try here. So our bit's set up right here, 1-inch bit. We're going to plow down through the two pieces of 1/4-inch thick material. The material that this is made out of is a little bit thinner than that. So once we get those plates made out, we'll have to actually make a little, thin them down a little bit so that they'll fit into the jig that I made up. So let's go ahead and we'll get this set up so you can see me do the milling machine. Let's see, what do I got a speed cut set to? Yeah, we're about 280 RPMs. And I need to check to make sure we're getting oil into the head. Got oil to the head. I'm going to feed her down about probably 0.625. I've got this up about a 1/2 inch off the deck, so I shouldn't have any problem with that. We'll cut into it. Feed her some cutting oil here. How does that sound? Through one layer. A little bit slipping on my bit. We're going to stop. I'm going to reset my bit. It's slipping into collet. Okay, we're going to go back at it again. We found what our problem was. Our set screw wasn't set properly, and so the the cutter was slipping on the arbor. We'll try that all over again. Okay, we turn the right direction. Bring her down. Okay. Go ahead and turn this puppy 360 degrees down. line cut back, just a spring pass, clean her up. Yeah, she's got it clear. Well, you can see we made a nice clean cut there on that edge. That's perfectly parallel with the other side now. Sorry about the focus there. Perfectly parallel with this cut. Just make sure we got our width. Yeah, it looks close enough. About 8 5/8. I wanted 8 3/4. So we're good. The other one had 1 inch of slop in it, so that's not going to kill us. So now what I'm going to do is turn it, reset the brackets, turn this thing 90 degrees, and cut the other 2 sides. Okay, we're going to call it now, and we'll come back to you once we cut the other sides.